Hello and welcome. This is Alchemistexe, and this is not a banner overview for the week of January 19th. Instead, I'm going to talk about a few different topics because there's nothing new this week. For the most part, I think that it's an easy skip week for almost everyone unless you've got Holy Guard stuff to take care of. And I do have a few things to say about that. So first of all, a banner that might be worth your while if you are in need of a Holy Guard captain and you want to get them from 0 to enlightened really quickly. For 500 gems, if you use a discount ticket, grab yourself a voucher. You can pick any Holy Guard captain except for Lakina, and that'll give you all the shards you need. Now, you are still going to need to do a few things, mostly clear the Sacred Stone memory storyline, but that is something all players should do no matter what, just because there's too much good stuff locked behind it. Not only gems, 2 free characters who are really good once you get them properly leveled, and just all the job equipments you need for all of the Holy Guard characters. Also the Templars. So it really just is a must-have. So if you are a new player and you haven't done that yet, I would put that high on your list of priorities. Aside from that, there is a Memento banner for Holy Guard stuff where the entire pool are the limited mementos. So depending on what your needs are, that might be worthwhile. I don't like it as much when they give you just a bunch of copies of the same memento, but you can't choose which one it is, because you might benefit from that, you might not. Like, I wouldn't touch that just because I have too many of those mementos in the pool max limit broken. A selector would have been much nicer, because the one that I don't have is Bashini's. I probably wouldn't use my gems to do that anyway, but if I was of the inclination to do that, they just persuaded me not to do the banner instead. But if you have none of them, though, then it's certainly a much better banner. Aside from that, there really isn't much else to talk about. If you are waiting for an extra discount ticket to do Tiferet's Memento banner, there's also that. But other than that, it's really not much else. So that's why I would prefer to just use the time to talk about the Holy Guard characters and what it takes to get them leveled up. And while it is certainly a large undertaking, for the most part, unless you use one of the vouchers, more of a longer term project, but one that is certainly worth undertaking. And I chose Catanova to be my display for this video, just because he is a unit I absolutely love to use, and I have him probably the most maxed out of any Holy Guard character, so I figured it was worthwhile to show. I'm going to talk about a few other characters that I think are worthwhile. I'll cover like the 5 that I think are most worthwhile, but I do want to preface that with a very big it depends, because depending on where you are units wise, somebody else might be able to fill a spot that you need better than the ones that I'm going to talk about. Like, for example, if you have got absolutely nothing going on in the category of water magic, it might be worthwhile to grab Otima and level him up, because while he certainly, in my opinion, isn't quite on the level of someone like Dark Mira or Emrys, if you don't have either of them, then he's an excellent choice. So the needs of your account are always going to come first, but of the units that I think stand out the most, obviously Catanova. As far as a fire unit goes, he is amazing just in terms of what he can dish out, having multiple damage types, an absurd amount of survivability. And then, of course, if you've got all of his mementos, even more survivability, and then the ability to ride a dragon. Of course, this level is kind of tailor-made for him, so he'd have a much better than average performance, but I use him in Arena. I've done all kinds of different hell levels with him. He's really hard to kill. His reactive of getting CT up when he's below half health, just overall great. The only real downside with Catanova is that you need to get 2 limited mementos to get him maxed out, but that's no worse than somebody like Sol or now Ainz. So all in all, definitely, I could not endorse Catanova more. Let's move on to another fire unit, and that would be Kaya. Kaya is excellent as a fire missile unit, as well as a alchemic crush dispenser, a fire res down person. What else can she do? Her countering is absolutely top notch. She's great in raids. She's great in PvE content. She has really good synergy with Nimble. And then, of course, any missile unit has excellent supports. So you could not go wrong with Kaya. Unfortunately, just like with Catanova, 2 limited mementos. So that's a little bit of a pain. But even if you don't have either of them, the base of her kit is excellent. Next up is Seda. If you are lacking Wind Missile, I would highly recommend grabbing the voucher and getting Seda. Just because while her damage isn't like insane, her range is insane. And she can do some CC, she can do some missile down. And then if you keep her HP topped up, she gets a bunch of extra skill use counts combined with some extra CT up. And then much like with Kaya, access to great missile supports. Overall, you can't go wrong. And then being the same element and the same damage type as Tina, even better. Speaking of long-term projects, if you haven't done Tina's Job 3, definitely worthwhile. Next up is Kudenstein. You cannot go wrong with Kudenstein. Just as an example, the last time that Mobius ran, I did floors 1 through 50 by myself, and Kudenstein was disproportionately represented in that. He is, for the amount of damage he's able to dish out, very, very, I don't want to call him tanky, because he's still squishy. He just has the ability to drain back the health that he loses, especially if most enemies are attacking from spear range. But even if they're not, his skill that absorbs health, just because it absorbs 100% of the damage, he can heal himself from almost dead to full just in one turn. And then he also has his buff that gives him guts can activate twice, so you can almost die once and still keep the buff. And then usually if you almost die twice, then it's going to make it much harder on yourself because you'll lose a lot of damage. But nonetheless, he is a 1 limited, 1 normal pool. Oh, so is Seda, by the way. So a little bit easier than Catanova and Kaya. And he's probably the most unique out of all of the Holy Guard characters in terms of, like, when you combine element, damage type, and then just what the skills actually do. So yeah, definitely Kudenstein is great. And then finally, a little bit weirder of a choice is going to be Zain. Just because he's really tanky, he's got res down, and if you have a lot of content that you still need to clear and you have a preference for running on auto mode, Zain is a very, very auto-friendly character. He's just got giant AoEs. Everything he does is instacast, so the incredibly stupid AI can still manage to utilize him properly. And then a lot of good synergy with a lot of other light units from just Envilia, Light Elemented, etc. Wagi now level, he is great in that. So yeah, that is about all I had to say about the Holy Guard stuff. So if you are summoning this week, I wish you good luck, and I will see you all next time.